Good morning, class, and welcome to World Building 101. Today we will talk about Harry Potter. I just finished watching Lily Simpson's 10-hour Harry Potter extravaganza. It's an amazing vivisection of the whole franchise. Go watch it, maybe not in 2 sessions like I did. So it got me thinking about the wizarding world and how much of a big, juicy waste of potential it is. Let's be clear. I love the books. I love the movies also, for the most part. I read the books multiple times, but there are some things that frustrated me even when I was a small boy, a baby reader. And now that I'm a big boy, a published author and a board game designer, I want to look at the world of Harry Potter and try to make it better. I want to preserve the good things that Terfolina made, so I keep as much as humanly possible. And I'm mainly writing between the lines. I'm not patching up plot holes or anything like that. It could be another video maybe. So if it interests you, make me know down there in the comments if it's something you'd like. Maybe leave a nice like and a subscribe, ring that bell and all of that YouTuber things. Thank you very much. Before we start, I'm not saying that I'm better than just kidding Rowling. I have but a nut to a vault of galleons and I benefit from the all-important gift of insight. This is just a funny what if, so don't get your witch hats in a twist. I'm doing this in the format of a top 10 because everyone loves the top 10, I think. Okay, class, we are ready. Let's go. I have my Italian wand right here. Generare decem. Number 10. Familiars. So, you need to prepare for your first year at Hogwarts. You buy your school supplies, your broom, your wand, and oh, don't forget a pet. Everyone at Hogwarts has one. Harry has Hedwig, Hermione had Shawshank Redemption, and Ron had the map mouse. There are some rules to these companions, which we can infer from the books. They need to be small, no horses or alligators sadly, and for some reason they must be non-magical. Or at least they can only be partly magical, since Shawshank is half an easel. But no fantasy pets in this fantasy series, no sir. Too much imagination, come on. Now, why do young wizards and witches have to have a pet? Well, we are given no reason. Maybe it's for emotional support? To cope with the constant danger lurking around every corner in the school? Who knows? They are there because they are there, and we only see a small sample of them, even if supposedly each student has one. We can do better than that. So, if you know your witchcraft, you know about familiars. They are animals, or better, spirits in animal forms, that help witches do their magic, especially when they're still learning how to abra-acadabra. Now, imagine if, the moment you get your wand, it binds itself to your pet/familiar. So, in the case of Harry, it links to Hedwig. And this gives your magic a little flavor, like maybe with an owl you're more powerful at casting during the night, or a cat gives you quicker spells, a toad or newt gives you an edge at enchanting potions, and a rat gives you, I don't know, 360 no scope 8 aim. You could even link this to other animalistic types of magic, like Expecto Patronum and Animagi. Your Patronum could be a ghostly glowing version of your familiar in most cases, with exceptions like Harry's Stag. These exceptions could be caused by a direct link to a powerful totemic magic, that is to say, magic powered by fusing with the aspect of a particular animal. This could be what an animagus is. So Harry got his tag from his father. Now that I mention it, we have no idea how animagi work or how you become one. Let's say that you undergo a special ritual that makes an entire species your familiar, giving you shape-shifting abilities. You don't know which animals you'll become, it's based on your personality. The ritual must be followed to the letter. You must do it under a new moon, wearing silver and pronouncing the correct words. The same ritual, but without the use of silver, was used by ancient shamans to gain certain aspects of the animals for a short while, like, for example, the strength of a jaguar or the speed of a falcon. Today, these abilities are only available to a few people, and it's speculated that the reason for this decline is our separation from nature in the modern world. Lycanthropy, the magical illness that turns someone into a werewolf, was born because of a very botched ritual. Silver works on werewolves because of the ritual. Oh, also, going back to familiars, it could be a symbiotic relationship, where the wizard gets magical perks and enhanced focus, while the animal gets a much longer lifespan and maybe a boost in intelligence. They could also sense each other, explaining how owls can find you anywhere and bring you mail. Killing a familiar would severely impair your magical strength until you could bond with another animal, while killing a wizard will return a familiar to its usual lifespan and intelligence level. With this in mind, Fanny the Phoenix becomes Dumbledore's familiar, and not just a random caged bird in his office. She's very powerful, but has to cyclically die, and Dumbledore is weak while she's regenerating. While Nagini isn't a cursed Korean woman trapped in a snake body, yeah, remember that? It's just Voldy's familiar. Right. Snakes. Number 9. Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes? Snakes? Evil. Look at the main house. Snakes. Voldemort? Snake lover. The basilisk? Big snake. They may be animals, but they are just the worst. Just rotten to the core. Except this guy, it seems. He only wants to go home. But no, you say. The thing is, some evil wizards like Slytherin could speak parcel tongue, so that made the connection between snakes and evil, you see? That doesn't seem fair. Has there ever been a good wizard that could speak snake? Harry can only do it because Voldy passed it to him during his deletion attempt. It's like a contagion. For other people it's genetic. So in Harry Potter's world, if you speak Sneko, you're at least suspicious.
So you are discriminated against based around the circumstances of your birth. Sounds kinda fishy, doesn't it?
Wait a minute. If people can speak parcel tongue and snakes respond, does this mean that every snake is sapient? Harry even speaks with a snake created by magic during his duel with Draco, so it's universal. That is a monumental discovery. Snakes are sapient as people, capable of conversation and complex thought. But no one cares. Are they the only animal capable of this? Can skinks speak parcel tongue? Can lizards? Or maybe they have their own language? Maybe all reptiles are sapient? All animals? It makes my head spin. Let's keep it simple. Parcel mouths have the ability of magically communicating with snakes and their relatives, but it's not a literal dialogue. It's more of an interpretation of the reptile's wants and needs that can also be influenced by the parcel mouth. You could have a more complex dialogue with a familiar, but a snake's mind will still be different from a person's. So no Brazilian boa constrictor saying amigo or winking at Harry without eyelids. Snake have no eyelids. Come on, Joanne. Number 8. House elves. I dreaded it, you dreaded it, we all dreaded it. But here we are. We can't talk about rebuilding the world of Harry Potter without dealing with the epislave race. They are a problem. JK wanted to use the trope of the fairy folk cleaning someone's house as a form of thanks, but she thought it was a good idea to make it a compulsion, and for wizards to use them as slaves. Listen, this is
fair averto.
No two ways around it. I hated it even when I was little, and I hate it now. But they love being enslaved is such a slimy, hair-raising thing, even more so because it was used by people in real life. When I first read about Dobby, I thought he was a poor creature abused by an evil wizard, and yes, he was. But then I learned that his whole species was enslaved, actually, and he was the strange one for wanting freedom. The text plainly said, the problem isn't slavery itself, it isn't the owning of another thinking being, no. It's if the owner mistreats the slave. Because, turns out, for Terfling, it's possible to be a magnanimous, gentle, caring slave owner, and that's all that matters. Just don't beat your slave and everything's fine. The only character that goes against this narrative, Hermione, is ridiculed by the other main characters, and the narration itself. I thought that Spew, Hermione's Society for the Promotion of Elvish Welfare, was introduced in the books to plant the seeds of change. I believed that Elvish slavery was introduced introduced in the books to show Harry that even magical society was rotten to the core. The marvelous feasts of Hogwarts weren't whipped out by charms, they were the hard work of an entire slave race hidden in the bowels of the school. Of course, by the end of the series, our main trio would help those elves free themselves from their shackles. But no, SPEW was just a joke. Funny. So, hey, let's change all that. Some piece of... Families like the Malfoys have an enslaved house elves in their homes. House elves don't like being enslaved, but they are compelled to serve by magic until freed. Here is how it works. Each house elf chooses a wizard family to live with when they become adults. It's part of their culture. If your family has been chosen by a house elf, it's a great honor. They keep to themselves, rarely interacting with the people of the house, but if they like you, they clean, cook, and even repair objects for you when you are not around. In exchange, you have to pay them with a cup of fresh cream, a small glass of wort, or a bundle of corn every night. Forget the payment and they will leave, insult or mistreat one, and you'll find your house turned to rubble before they go away. Dark wizards in the past found a way to bind a house elf to their family in perpetuity with a curse. A cursed house elf can't hurt any member of the master's family, and they have to follow their orders. The only way to break the curse is for one member of the family to give the house elf an article of clothing. Let's be very clear, cursing a house elf is very illegal. But the Ministry of Magic likes to turn a blind eye to the richest family for some mysterious reason.
Our trio of heroes will fight this injustice, and at the end of the last book, Hermione will lead an anti-enslavement task force, scouring the wizarding world for any magical creature serving a wizard against their will.
So what about the house elves at Hogwarts? How do they work? They don't. Hogwarts has normal magical cooks and cleaners who are paid, that's it. Number 7. Goblins. So, goblins. I would say remove everything that seems like a Jewish caricature from the 30s, but that will mean throwing the whole concept into the trash. Sheesh. Well, what the hell, let's do it. You need magical bankers obsessed with gold? Why not dragons? I'm serious. Make each magical bank the communal lair of small intelligent dragons. Let's call them drakes to distinguish them from their giant cousins. They can breathe fire and fly, but not as well as real dragons, and they absolutely adore being around treasure. Give them posh British accents, top hats and ties, and you have some memorable characters. They wouldn't even impact the presence of fierce wild dragons in the 4th book. We know there are multiple species of them. Maybe banker drakes are as different from dragons as we are from bonobos. You can also keep the "if I made it, it's mine forever" rule. It even makes more sense, I think, since goblins aren't famous for making magical artifacts, really. Sword and jewels forged in dragonfire, on the other hand, a pretty common trope. Number 6. Artifacts. Speaking of magical artifacts, we have no idea how they work. How do you permanently enchant an object and give it supernatural properties? I don't recall any lesson about it. The thing is, magical artifacts are central to most of the books. The Sorting Hat, the Philosopher/Sorcerer Stone, the Mirror of Erised, the Sword of Gryffindor, the Marauder's Map, the Goblet of Fire, the Deathly Hallows, and many more. These are unique, as in there is only one of them in the whole world, and for some reason no one has managed to replicate them. They are also somewhat sentient, and in some cases even capable of communication. Let's say they are in fact one-of-a-kind objects, lightning in a bottle. Let's call them legendary relics. Whenever a true masterwork is made, be it forged by dragonfire or knitted by an obsessed witch, there is a chance that an aspect of magic decides to incarnate in that artifact, turning it into a legendary relic. It is a platonic ideal made matter, and it has a mind of its own. Since the concept is already incarnated in a relic, no other object can be made with the same power until the first one is destroyed, which is kinda difficult since most of them are completely indestructible. Now, This is just background world building. It might well be that no one knows why certain items have these properties. Let's take the Philosopher's Stone, for example. The alchemist Nicolas Flamel, obsessed by the idea of synthesizing the perfect substance, dedicates his life to the creation of the Philosopher's Stone. His passion for alchemy, bordering on madness, leads to the birth of the one and only real stone. No one else could have had the dedication to generate the Philosopher's Stone, not even following each step he took. The stone is the quintessence of perfection, and as such it grants immortality and turns any substance into gold. Now, why aren't all wizards immortal then? And why does gold still have value if you can make an infinite amount of it whenever you want? Well, the stone decides when and how to work. It only ever produced the elixir of immortality for Flamel and his wife, and it made enough gold to make them comfortably rich. Nothing more. A dark wizard like Voldemort could, however, force it to work against its will, and that's why Flamel kept it safe in the vaults of Gringotts and later at Hogwarts. Number 5. Magic. How does it work? We have an entire series about a wizard in school and we have no idea about what magic is. We have entire chapters where we are sitting with the gang and listening to the profs and no one ever talks about it. Not even Hermione even asks anything. Not gonna lie, when I was reading it for the first time, each time a new book came out I was like, right, this is the year. This time they'll teach the kids what magic is, where it comes from, maybe even how it works. And I waited. And I waited, and then Harry wasn't at Hogwarts anymore, there were no more lessons to teach, and I was left with a big fat question mark. I think for Joanne, magic just is. It has no explanation or mechanism. People kind of stumbled upon new spells, who the knows how, and then told the next generation, here, do this movement, say this phrase in false Latin, and the table turns into a duck. Why? Who cares? It works. No curiosity at all. Don't care that we have the power to literally reshape reality with a flick of our wrist. I'm sure it's nothing important. So let's take what we know about magic in Harry Potter and see what we can add. The potential for magic is genetic, it seems. People are born muggles or magical, and this can't be changed. Magic is also not mystical at all, it's quite mundane, like technology for us muggles. Everyone uses it with no reverence or rights associated with it. It's a simple convenience and it's taken for granted. More of a superpower than what we muggles think of when we think of magic. It has no religious or philosophical significance. People keep being Christian or Jewish even if they are literally able to turn water into wine, and ghosts are a completely normal thing. There are also no religious practices we know of that have anything to do with shamanism, spiritism, or any pagan gods associated with magic like Hecate, Odin, or Isis. It's all very, very neoliberal British middle class. So our magic must be a natural phenomenon that certain people are able to tap into thanks to genetic mutation. Like, pigeons can sense the Earth magnetic field, witches and wizards can do magic. Most wizards and witches at Hogwarts come from magical families, since there is nothing at school that can help a muggle-born wizard to integrate in this wild new world of magic. This can be like muggle racism, which is probable, but it also could be that there is such a small percentage of muggle-born wizards that it's considered not useful. It's still racism. Still, we don't see in the books many children that just gawking at magic stuff, so it's safe to say there are more purebloods than muggle-born wizards. And by muggle-born, I mean wizard and witches born into a muggle family. Maybe it's the wrong term, I don't care. Oh, and by the way, thanks to the isolationism of the wizarding community, we are witnessing an ongoing speciation event and the rise
of Homo Magicus, so Voldemort would be very proud of this.
Okay, casting spells is just harnessing the energy called magic and using it to change reality. Wands only help with this. They are not required, so they are a conduit for this energy. We know young children can manifest wild magic without even wanting to, and that magic schools essentially teach them how to control their power. Let's make it so wand movements and false Latin phrases are just mnemonic aids to access a very particular aspect of magic each and every time you use them. Saying Wingardium Leviosa 100 times while thinking really hard about making a feather fly creates an association with the phrase plus movement and the idea of levitation. Some species like dragons, house elves, etc. use magic in a more instinctual way, but they also lack the amount of finesse that a wand and a familiar provide. Magic in this version is the energy of change. A religious wizard maybe will call it the remnants of creation. It's everywhere, and you may think of it as a web containing the platonic ideals of all things. So if you could see all of magic, you'd see it's made of billions of interconnected nodes, each representing one aspect of reality. A lot like constellations in the night sky, and in fact, we could even link magic to the stars. This could explain why everybody studies astronomy at Hogwarts. Stars and planets are the engines that generates magic. Another thing I want to change about magic is to make it more interesting. In the original books, there are some go-to spells that are repeated over and over, like Expelliarmus and Avada Kedavra. They are one-shot I win buttons. You either take your opponent's ability to fight or you just outright kill them. That's boring. Everybody remembers the fight between Dumbledore and Voldemort because they actually use magic to its full potential. We need more of that, so here is what I want from my spells. I want to summon flying swords made of fire, to turn a sapling into a man-eating monster, to call lightning down from the clouds. I want to blow bubbles that burst into ear-splitting screams. I want to turn the rock under your feet into water and that water into ice. I want to conjure a bone-breaking ray of moonlight and grow my owl to 5 times its size. This out of the top of my head and just thinking about combat, but the possibilities are endless. Use the environment around the caster, put some effort into making it rad as and voila, tasty magic. I could stay here and list cool spells all day, so let's go back to the aspects of magic. There is an aspect for snakes, one for laughter, one for the sun, one for the concept of luck, etc. If you want to lift a feather, you could call upon the aspect of flight, or maybe you could connect the aspect of gravity and subvert it. Trace a line between the aspect of the crow and the aspect of desks, and you will transmogrify a poor bird into furniture. It's difficult and dangerous to access magic willy-nilly, which is why at school they teach you to be precise. You see, the association between a spell and its effects doesn't exist only in the mind of wizards, but in time it also manifests in magic itself. Thousands of people saying Lumos for hundreds of years while calling upon the aspect of light has dug a pathway inside magic, like a river creating a canyon. Now, Lumos means lighting up the tip of your wand. And you can do it without focusing much, and without the risk of becoming a walking disco ball for having taken too much light in one go. Spells are shortcuts to access magic, simple as that. Potions work the same way, but with physical ingredients instead of words and movements. If this looks too complex for a children's book, it's because it is. But you don't teach quantum physics to middle schoolers, you teach them math. So adults will know about these sort of things, while students at Hogwarts are given the basic version. Magic is the ability to change reality, and you can do it if you follow the instructions. Later, maybe in 6th or 7th year, you could go more in depth. And Hermione, being the only one that's curious enough to study advanced stuff, will already know and sometimes make reference to this, while Harry and Ron will understand almost nothing of what she's saying, but us readers will. Speaking of the trio, number 4. The Lion, the Witch, and the Ginger. Okay, first of all, Hermione is the only kid in these books that makes any amount of sense. You want to tell me that you are plunged in a world of magic, surrounded by knowledge you previously could only dream of, and you don't instantly become a witchcraft nerd? Doubly true if your parents are muggles, but come on, everybody should be interested in the classes. I have the first 3 generations of Pokemon etched into my hippocampus, and they weren't even real. Imagine a kid with access to books that teach them spells. You would flip through that daily, just itching to try new powers. And if you grow in a wizard family, you see people around you use magic every day. You are surely chomping at the bits to do it all yourself. But instead, they all make fun of Hermione, are bored of the magic lessons and don't study. My Hermione is still a giant nerd and a teacher's pet, but that's actually expected of her, because she's a Ravenclaw, you see? Yep. I'll tell you later, just wait until the next chapter. So, my version of Hermione. She is the mind of the group, and she has her head frequently up in the clouds. She overthinks and overanalyzes stuff constantly, so much so that she is often paralyzed. Without Harry and Ron, her gifted mind would be knotted upon itself. Without her knowledge and cunning, they would have died many times. Now, let's talk about our main boy. In the books, he is supposed to be the everyman and an underdog, and yet he has a vault full of gold, he's Dumbledore's pet, and he is the best seeker because of, I guess, genes. He never uses his gold for anything good. His best friend's family is poor and he never once helps them. Oh, he helped Fred and George with their joke shop, yeah, but that was money from the Triwizard tournament, wasn't it? He had a lot more than that in his vault, just sitting there. You could make the Weasley an anonymous Christmas gift and change their lives, or maybe it would have been useful for the Order of the Phoenix. They could have bought and stockpiled magical artifacts to use against the Dark Lord, but oh well. Speaking of fighting the Dark Lord, Harry is famous because he is the boy who lived. He and only he survived the attack to his family, shielded by the love of his mother. And this is seen as amazing, exceptional even. Which means that either it's incredibly rare for a dark wizard to try and kill a child in front of their parents, or Lily's love for Harry was greater than any other mother's. Not only that, but Harry became a Horcrux when a piece of Voldy's soul was trapped inside him, something which not even Voldy himself is aware of. So in my version, Lily's love for Harry did save him, not because of some nebulous power of love, but because by chance her sacrifice made Harry into a living legendary relic. Inside him dwells the aspect of maternal love, an incredibly powerful and ancient aspect of magic, much older than humanity itself. That's why Quirrell disintegrated when he tried to harm Harry. And yes, we could also make Harry a Horcrux, why not? Wait, isn't this the same as it is in the books? Kind of, I just added a mechanism to it. Now, let's talk about Harry's personality. My Harry will be fascinated by the wizarding world and always excited about discovering something new, even to the point of being cringe. Bright-eyed, a little too brave for his own good, trusting to a fault, and just always happy to be anywhere that isn't the Dudley's home. He is lovable and kind to his friend, but snarky and full of bravado with his enemies. He can be a little with someone he doesn't like. And he is not rich. It adds zero, nada, zilch to the narrative, because the only memorable thing he does with his fortune is buying all the sweets on the train, leaving nothing for anyone else. Not cool. That scene would be the same if Harry had some money, not all of the money, just have him make the impulsive decision of buying 2 of each thing instead of the whole cart. Then maybe he even regrets to have spent that much money on sweets. Gets a case of magical rainbow burps, I don't know, make it a fun bit. And Ron would still be impressed by his generosity in sharing all that stuff. Because Ron, as we already said, comes from a poor family. What poor means in the wizarding world is difficult to say. I mean, you can replicate matter, so economy is completely stupid. I'm not even entertaining the idea of making the society magic communist, by the way. That will change the story in ways I would need another 10 video essays to analyze. Let's keep it capitalist, it's okay. We know that the Ministry of Magic canonically sucks sphincters, so it's logical that they would keep the status quo to something favorable to the elites. My Ron will be both the funny one and the sensible one. When Harry wants to jump into danger, he tries to stop him. When Hermione gets lost in minutia and hypotheses, he brings her back down to earth. He isn't the brightest kid around, but he has a tactical mind. This not only helps in wizard chess, but also in planning, scouting, and avoiding danger. Without
Without him, the trio would just improvise and adapt instead of being proactive. Of the three, he is the only one born and raised in wizard society, so he is the main source of information about the world. He also gets bored really easily, so this information is limited to his interests, but it's still something.
Number 3. Fire Emblem. 4 houses.
We all know the houses of Hogwarts by heart. Lorehold, Prismari, Quandrix, Witherbloom, and wait, I have my magics mixed up. Okay, so to me Hogwarts house system never made any sense. Not only because there is an entire house of souls founded by a racist, but because, like, what's the reason? When I was in high school, I went to Australia as an exchange student for a month. And there I went to one of those fancy charter schools. It was males only, everyone was wearing the same thing, and the whole class had to say a prayer every morning. I would have preferred to go into the outback and be mauled by a kangaroo, let me tell you, but they still didn't have a house system, so I guess it's a British thing. I don't really care, people in the comments, I hate it. Why separate kids into houses and put one against the other? Oh, it's just for the healthy competition, you know? Yeah, very healthy. I'm sure it doesn't engender any type of conflict between the houses or give rise to hateful stereotypes. I'm sure of it. But let's take the 4 houses system and give it a bit of a twist. What if everyone lives and studies together? And the houses are like specializations. So everyone has lessons that are in common, plus each house has specialized lessons only for them. Now let's see these houses and what they represent. Ravenclaw is the house of intellect. It's for those that want to dissect magic to its fundamentals, learn how everything works, and research the secrets of the world. Here you can become the magical counterpart to a theoretical physicist, or maybe write books that the next generation of wizards will study. It's geeky work which not many like, but some love to bits. If you are a Ravenclaw, you'll have extra in-depth astronomy and transfiguration lessons, with later additional lessons for arithmancy, study of ancient runes, and ley lines analysis. Hufflepuff is the working wizard house, for those that want a stable job in the Ministry of Magic and don't fear getting their hands dirty. A good Hufflepuff is very knowledgeable, but focuses on the practical side of things compared to the more cerebral Ravenclaws. If you want something done, and done well, you ask a Hufflepuff. They specialize in herbology and history of magic, and later care of magical creatures, arcane medicine, and muggle studies. Little aside, history of magic is not boring at all in this rebuild and is extremely important for interspecies relations. Gryffindor is the house of bravery. It's for those that want to face the perils of this world. It's the house for you if you want to become an Auror, which aren't wizard cops, but magical first responders, who protect wizard and muggle communities from dark magic and fantastic beasts. It's also the best house for sports, as hunting monsters it's a very physical activity. They specialize in protection against the dark arts and wizard sports, not flying, since Quidditch can't be the only sport played at school, come on. In later years, they can attend special lessons on divination, theory of the undead, and curses. Slytherin is the house of ambition, for those that want to push magic to new heights. It's the house for people that want to change society and themselves through experimentation, even breaking the established rules to reach their goal. They are often the ones to create new spells. There are in Slytherin for sure, since you need a big ego to be a good snack, but it's not the bully house or the racist house. What they do can be dangerous, and some of them did go super villain, like Voldemort, but they breed innovation in the mostly stagnant world of magic. Simply put, it's magic as art. They specialize in potions and charms, with later deep dives into alchemy, spellcrafting, and ancient studies. Now that I presented all of the 4 houses, I'd like to make another little change to the main story. Harry, Ron, and Hermione are not all Gryffindor, like I alluded to earlier. I mean, Harry clearly is, but Hermione is a Ravenclaw and Ron is a Hufflepuff. So 3 of the 4 houses are represented in the main trio, while Draco will be the reader's introduction to Slytherin. Remember, they live, eat and study together, so they can have the same adventure as in the books. Maybe we could divide students by year or year groupings instead if you want different dormitories. Like having year 1 through 3 together.
then year 4 and 5, and lastly 6 and 7. It will make sense, I think, to not have 17-year-olds in the same living space as 11-year-olds. And for the gender division, I don't know. I mean, it's clear what would happen in a gender-neutral dormitory with all of the hormones flying around, but I hope they have good sexual education and temporary infertility charms. The important part is, don't segregate the houses. Collaboration is very important. Each house brings something unique to the table and together they can do incredible things. Like beating Voldemort, for example. You can keep the Quidditch cup, by the way. Friendly competition in sports is no problem. Just keep the house cup to catching snitches and not about teachers arbitrarily adding or subtracting points for students' behavior. We know that it doesn't matter in any case since Dumbledore just changes the scores however he wants. This school sucks, huh? Number 2. This school sucks, huh? After changing the curriculum, let's see what we can do for the school itself. I'm not talking about the safety situation. We know Hogwarts is dangerous and it's fine like it is. Really, it's cool. Put some protection spells around the worst parts. Don't send children to the Forbidden Forest as punishments and we are golden. No, Hogwarts' worst sin is that it's somehow boring. It's a magical wonderful school and students are bored out of their minds. As I mentioned before, they have a ghost professor that is capable of making students hate freaking magic history. You're talking about giants, dragons, mage words, curses and legendary figures like Merlin himself and you managed to drop the quaffle this bad? You need to do better, my dude. Why repeat the same errors muggles do instead of presenting Hogwarts as a truly amazing school to study in? I mean, I think Terfella Deville thinks it's the best school ever, but it sucks big juicy troll balls. Let's start with the lessons. Make them interactive, with professors and students bouncing ideas off each other and everyone helping one another. Competition has no place here and no one is left behind. Besides the practical work we already see in the books, theory needs a bit of a spark to catch a kid's attention. But hey, we have magic, so it's pretty simple. Professors can evoke three-dimensional illusions inside their classroom, which they can manipulate and modify. Reading about the Goblin Rebellion may be one thing, but being plunged into the middle of a battle, screams and spells flying all around is another. If magic lessons are less interesting than an interactive VR experience, why bother? Muggles are clearly superior. Another thing we need to address is the fact that wizards and witches end their school experience as illiterate. I don't want an in-depth description of an algebra lesson in the books, don't worry, but just a hint here or there that English and math exist would do wonders. And what about after Hogwarts? It seems like you are just thrown into the job market, probably working for the Ministry of Magic. No universities, really? You end everything at 18? That doesn't seem right to me. I want the option for students to continue their education and specialize. Last but not least, free time and family. I think it will be cool to have school clubs with many activities to do in your free time, organized by older students. Maybe you want to play chess, play an instrument, or discuss the latest werewolf-themed romance book with your peers. Kids need to do something besides studying, playing Quidditch and risking their life. Then we have family. Kids are sequestered inside the school for most of the year, returning home only for the holidays. That makes no sense. Why would you break away families for so long? You know you have multiple ways to teleport home, right? But you can't do it inside Hogwarts. Yeah, I know, just go outside. Bring the kids to a special building equipped with chimneys, give them some flu powder and they can go back every weekend. Even every evening if they want to. It's that simple. Or if that's impossible for some reason, they could just take the Hogwarts Express back to London and go back from there. Living in your school for me is a bit of a nightmare, not gonna lie. Imagine having to live side by side with your bullies 24/7. My god. Also, now that I'm thinking about coming and going from Hogwarts, let's give some decent school trips to these kids. They only go shopping to Hogsmeade, which is really lame. When I was in high school, I went to Greece, Spain, Prague, and many interesting places around Italy. I didn't have access to teleportation or flight. Imagine a trip to Japan with shape-shifting foxes as tour guides, a visit to the resting place of King Arthur, or an exploration of ancient Mayan ruins to study different styles of spellcasting. I mean, you could easily write an entire entire book just about what happens during a 2-week school trip. I'm talking about a muggle one. You get new sights, interesting lore, adventures, hormones flying around at light speed, and teachers letting loose. Pure gold for storytelling. But now we have to face the final boss, the last big change I want to make. And it is big, let me tell you. I'm ending the muggle apartheid. Number 1. But before that...
Hello again. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. This is the last stretch of the video. I hope you like it. Leave a like, a subscribe, ring the ding 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 bell. But most of all, please tell me your ideas about how you will change Harry Potter. I would also like to introduce my editor, Nuki. Here he is. He's the best editor around. And he wants to tell you something. That's right. That's it. Number 1.
Number 1. Death to the Masquerade. One of the basic premises of Harry Potter is that wizards live alongside muggles, but hidden. They have their own government, laws, and of course schools. Also, they can't reveal their existence to muggles. This always felt wrong to me. Not only from an ethical standpoint, and we'll get to that, but for a logical one. If muggles can give birth to wizards, how can wizards be hidden from them? Muggle parents and siblings have to bite their tongue and cover up any strange occurrence involving the magical child forever? Well, of course, this fails. The solution? Mind-wiping muggles like we're in Men in Black. You are violating someone's memory, possibly causing them lasting damage to keep this secret safe. And for what? Rowling tells us that's because of the witch hunts. She also tells us that, actually, no real witch was burned, because they used a spell to save themselves. The fire just tickled. Really now, it tickled. What about the muggles killed by the Inquisition? Did it tickle them too? Why didn't wizards intervene then? Or at any other crisis, by the way? I'm sure a lot of epidemics, wars and famines could have stopped with a bit of magic. Also slavery and the Holocaust, you know? But hey, they feared for their lives, they couldn't intervene. The muggles are too scary for some reason. That's why the wizarding world stays hidden, except for a direct link to the Prime Minister of Britain, because the elites can have a little secret knowledge as a treat. The common folk, absolutely not. Okay, so wizards are lazy, racist, elitist, cowards, and isolationists. I'm not sure I can root for them. That's why I'm changing the masquerade to something else. I want to keep the hidden world, and maybe even you could receive a letter from Hogwarts, child reading this book, aspect of Harry Potter. I think they were important for the success of the series. In this version, wizards live in another dimension where magic is stronger. Don't think of it as a parallel Earth. It's more like hidden realms inside our world. Like you knock on a wall in the back of a London pub and find yourself in a pocket dimension with a street full of magical stuff. That sort of thing. It's fiery, the Twilight Realm, Tirnanog, sorry for the pronunciation by the way, the place where magic lives. We can call it Otherworld. One of the things that always baffled me about Harry Potter is that it's so incredibly British on one hand, but generic European fantasy on the other. Like, give it a little flavor, woman. Why have centaurs in the forest?
Where did you get a centaur?
When you could have nucleavis? Why not use ancient standing stones like Stonehenge as important places of power? Put a Nessie-like monster in the lake instead of a kraken. Make the sorting hat Merlin's hat. Make Gryffindor's sword literally Excalibur. Make Fluffy a descendant of the legendary questing beast. Make Peeves the Poltergeist a Puck Fairy, like Robin Goodfellow of A Midsummer's Night Dream. You could even imply that the Goblet of Fire is the Grail itself, or that it's somehow related to it. I mean, I know that most British people are born without a sense of taste, but we can still use a little bit of spice. Okay, now where were we? Right, Otherworld. In Otherworld, as I said, magic is stronger. Magical beings can freely cast spells, and there is an abundance of creatures that are, for lack of a better word, fantastic. These beings wouldn't last very long in the mundane world, losing their powers after a bit of time. Spells become weaker and weaker the more a wizard stays in the muggle world, until you can't use magic anymore. The only way to gain access to magic again is to go back to Otherworld and recharge for a bit. This means that entering the muggle world is actually quite dangerous in and of itself for a wizard. And why don't muggles enter Otherworld? Because the brains of muggles aren't made to live in Otherworld. They get confused, turn around, and forget most of what they've seen. Plus, most technology doesn't survive in Otherworld, so no photos or videos. No Man in Black necessary. This is why the two worlds and cultures can live side by side without interacting much. However, it's kind of an open secret, in the sense that families with magical children know, and some people have been in contact with fantastic beasts, but no one will believe them. There are also aurors, which protect muggles from supernatural dangers, and even some mages who actively help muggles while keeping a low profile. The main problem is that wizards are a tiny portion of the population, so they can't be everywhere and help everyone. Just think that in this version wizards don't homeschool, because it's incredibly dangerous and in fact impossible for muggle parents. Instead, Hogwarts is the only school for Great Britain and Ireland. Every single wizard child goes there. Now, returning to the dual worlds system, it would be cool if there was a group trying to find a solution to the muggle mind problem, and another fighting to keep Otherworld isolated. It's a great setup for a post-Voldemort conflict, since both sides would have some good points. Maybe society would grow and develop to incredible heights if muggles and wizards could work together. Maybe Otherworld wouldn't survive if muggles could enter it without problems. In the end, the good guys, however, will be the unifiers. Uniting both worlds is the right thing to do, even if there could be severe consequences.
This leads me to my last point. The status quo in the world of Harry Potter is dreadful for many people, but the unspeakable author sees any changes as evil. Social problems are presented, but never resolved, as if to say, yeah, it's bad, but what can you do about it? It is what it is. Well, I want to see Harry and his friends free the house elves, tear down preconceptions, challenge any unjust authorities, and make a better world. So let me end with this. It is, in fact, as it is, until the moment we change it. Thanks for watching.
A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4.
Boom.